That's really the story. The fact that Drake has become a story is much ado about nothing. We've seen plenty of instances where fans have been a bit outrageous. We applaud the fact that guys like Spike Lee and others are synonymous with their teams, the Jack Nicholsons of the world. We know about the history of Spike Lee with Reggie Miller. We saw when the Lakers were running the San Antonio Spurs out of the Staples Center and Jack Nicklaus put up the choke sign and said, "Take their heart, take their heart." We saw all kinds of things. And from the fans, we've certainly seen things more egregious. Mike Budenholzer, who's my coach of the year, and I have profound respect for, by the way, if Drake had touched him, then I would understand the argument. But last time I checked, Drake is an ambassador for the Toronto Raptors. All right, he has a very, very good relationship with the organization. I saw Drake at Game 4. I actually spoke to him for a few minutes. And when I went up to speak to him, guess where he was, guys? In the back, talking to Masai Ujiri, the general manager for the Toronto Raptors. He's a part of the organization, and he was heckling the Greek Freak and all of that stuff like any fan would, or whatever the case may be. If you have an issue, you can have an issue with his location, the fact that he's right next to the Toronto Raptors bench. But since he's an ambassador for the team and its #1 fan, and he's synonymous with the organization, I have no problem with him sitting there at all. If you're the Milwaukee Bucks, you got better things and far more larger concerns to be, really invading your mind rather than worrying about Drake heckling the Greek Freak or being as demonstrative as he was. He wouldn't have been that way in games 1 and 2. Why? Because you're Milwaukee and you handled your business. Don't come to me after you lose game 3 and 4 and bring up anything about Drake. I'm actually disappointed that Budenholzer would even take the time to comment about something like that.
I agree. And the thing is, there's a reason why the senior executive from Octagon took the tweet down, because it makes you look sensitive. Drake's not in a uniform, and that's what happens when you play on the road. It should be a hostile environment where the home team gets a chance to jeer the team that they're playing against. That's what comes with playoff basketball. The Milwaukee Bucks are acting like the team that haven't been to the playoffs since 2002. Oh, wait, they haven't. That's what it is. All you got to do is get out there and play competitive basketball and ultimately see who comes out on top.
In fairness, it appears, Budenholzer was asked about it, and we just played his comments. They weren't really very strong on the subject. He almost sounded like he didn't really know what they were asking about and why. And the person who was offended by it was like Giannis's former agent. I haven't heard that much coming from the Bucks as being specifically involved in it. So maybe it's a little bit of much to do about nothing.
Excuse me,
Steve. Yeah.
I'm here in Milwaukee, and I got here last night, obviously a bit late because I had to get back into the country, which means I had to get out of Canada. Don't get me started with that. But the point is that when I got here, what were people complaining about? You had just as many people asking me about Drake as they were asking me about the game. So you got fans here that were sensitive. I actually got into a little, I usually don't debate with fans because I don't debate for free. Let me just be very, very clear about that. But I was annoyed because the fan was in my face asking me about Drake and talking about how I was a bit excessive. And I said, you know what? Indianapolis felt the same way about Spike Lee. But you know what they did? They waited for him to come to town, and they heckled the hell out of him. And that's why to this very day, you can never say a negative word about John Starks, because after Spike Lee antagonized Reggie Miller and Reggie took him out at the Garden, they had to go back to Indiana for a pivotal game 6. And that was when John Starks saved the day. Spike Lee is grateful to him for eternity because John Starks saved the day because those fans were ready to get on him. That's how you handle it. You invite Drake to Milwaukee and say, come into this Lions Den. Since you got to expose us to all of this, come into this Lions Den. I'm quite sure Drake would come, and then you could have a real good, a lot of fun with it, as opposed to whining and complaining as if that had something to do with you getting smoked in game 4. Milwaukee better handle their business tonight. Otherwise, we're going to be talking about Drake a hell of a lot more than they want us to.
Yeah, and the fans in Milwaukee certainly seem upset. All right, Stephen A., while you do not debate for free, you know who does? Kevin Durant. And he will debate anyone, anytime, including Chris Broussard, who has obviously a huge platform, or a guy on social media, a guy on Twitter with 155 followers who Kevin Durant is tweeting at. I'm curious your perspective as the Warriors sit and they have 9 days in total before the finals begin, and all of the conversation about KD, and he's getting into it like crazy on social media. What do you make of that?
I have no problem with it whatsoever. Chris Broussard is my friend and my brother. We go back many, many years, got a lot of love for him, and I'm not here to cast any aspersions on him whatsoever. Let me be clear about that. Having said all of that, listen, Kevin Durant is one of the greatest basketball players we have ever seen. And there are an abundance of people out there, millions upon millions of people who've never played the game, and certainly who've never played the game at his level, that get to talk about basketball. Why is not a two-time champion, a two-time NBA Finals MVP, a former league MVP, arguably the greatest player in the game today, who's unquestionably a first ballot Hall of Famer when he retires, and he's at least 6 to 8 years removed from retirement? Why doesn't he get to talk about basketball? If he wants to debate people, so be it. Because last time I checked, when you antagonize Kevin Durant, you end up paying a price for it. We antagonized them about Patrick Beverley, and he looked at us and said, you know who I am. Y'all know who I am, and then averaged 40. So if Kevin Durant is a bit agitated, and these are the kind of things that work for him, and it shows no ill effects to his game, why should we care? I have no problem with him talking about basketball. Matter of fact, I appreciate it, and I'm honored to listen to him talk about basketball rather than be passive aggressive and send other people to do the talking for him. I respect the man for speaking up for himself. Doesn't bother me at all.
Stephen A. live in 7 minutes. First Take. He is live in Milwaukee for Game 5 of that series tonight. Thank you, Stephen A. We'll see you tomorrow. Outstanding as